What's going on, everybody? Today we will be installing the GHK G5 Zenith Kit from RogueWorx. And a fair warning to be had, this is not an easy modification. This takes a little bit more than your typical just uninstall and reinstall upgraded parts. Now, whereas if you own a GHK G5, you absolutely need this upgrade, and there's a reason for it, because if you don't, it's just going to explode on itself and you'll never be able to use it again. Some of these modifications will also leave your GHK G5 in a position where you can no longer take it down the conventional way, so keep that in mind. This install took me around 45 minutes with filming, so imagine it's going to be a little bit of a lengthy one, and without further ado, let's get into the video. What's poppin', everybody? We are back again with the GHK G5, and today we have a sponsored product that is going to save our GHK G5 from inevitable doom. This is the RogueWorx GHK G5 Zenith Kit, and this is going to help us, like the previous review video that we posted and I mentioned, and a lot of people in the Heavy Recoil Discord have also experienced this as well, inevitable cracking of the lower receiver. It will just obliterate itself and that's it. You are totally out of luck. So we're going to solve that today thanks to RogueWorx. This is a sponsored video. I did not buy this myself. However, I do want to say that this is entirely my opinion, real opinion, and trust me, from experience and from others' experience that I've read and seen, this will solve that problem entirely. So I'm really excited. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat this, and if I'm correct about this, this is not going to be an easy install. This is going to require a slew of different modifications and different parts that we're going to need to upgrade in order to make sure that G5 is now indestructible. So here's a list of all the parts that we're going to need. There's a handful of tools, a drill, a set of drill bits, a fresh, or as fresh as you can, X-Acto knife or Stanley blade, something grippy like a pair of pliers or small channel locks, setting of hand files, smaller the better, a pin and punch set, and some super glue. Before I show you what's on the inside of the Zenith Kit from RogueWorx, let's first just prep the G5. We're going to take our first pin and punch, and we're going to knock out this pin in the back that holds the receiver together. Now what I want you to keep in mind is that is held in by a pin and detent, so it will not come out all the way, and we don't actually have to. We're just going to flip this guy forward, and out the back will come our bolt, spring, guide rod, and buffer. And that buffer is one of those parts that we're going to be replacing. Next, what we have to do is grab a flathead, and we have to unscrew this guy, because this is actually a two-way pin. Now just be careful not to lose any of these parts. Some of them are on the smaller end. Pull that guy out, and then we can go ahead and take our pin, and we're going to punch out this guy the rest of the way. This pin, on the other hand, will come completely out. Save that, we'll need it later. Now you can split the upper and lower receiver into two, and we're actually going to need both of these because we have to perform a mod for the upper and the lower receiver. Now something I'm going to do to make our lives easier for later is I'm actually going to take off the rear sight because we need access to this part of the rail, and I'm going to take off this sight just to give us some room to work. With the rear sight now off and the upper naked, let's take a look at what's inside the Zenith Kit. I don't know if we have to pop this. Nope. It'll just open like regular. Go ahead and dump everything out. There's a ton of pieces in here that we're going to have to take an eye at. Opening it first, we have three parts. This is all going to be used for the upper. The new lower insert with a new buffer. It's going to help cushion the blow and protect the lower receiver. This is the replacement for your buffer. There's a pin that comes with it. Make sure you do not lose that. I'm actually going to keep that specifically inside of the bag together. And last but not least, this is actually a customizable piece. This cap comes in a multitude of different colors as well as variants. This is the QD point. They also have a small little sling attachment ring, and it comes in black and tan. One of the first things that we're going to do, this isn't going to take a whole lot of modification actually, we're just going to take that new buffer, and with the pin extracted all the way out to the right side, we're just going to go ahead and slide this guy in this orientation. It should just grip around that plate on the back. And it should slot in pretty snug. Specifically what this did is it actually is now going to take place of the pin that locks the upper and lower receiver together we can no longer utilize this because this is going to now be in the way. So we're going to push that pin now back through. And as you can see, the pin is in place and this guy is not going anywhere. We're going to set this aside and we're going to start to modify the upper receiver. This is where things start to get a little scary. This next part is where things start to get a little finicky. So what we're going to do here is we actually have to completely modify the upper receiver. Make sure your blade is extremely new and extremely sharp, and be careful. What we have to do now is cut, as I almost stabbed myself, along this mold line and this mold line so that we can remove this part that the lower receiver's pin falls through. So we're just going to slowly, and I'm going to take my time here, just kind of score it over and over and over again until I make my way all the way through on both sides. I'll come back to you when we're pretty close. So I finally made it through the one side. You could see it split off. Now what we have to do is make sure this side's scored enough so when I do push it down, it'll just snap off nice and clean. Now I should just be able to theoretically wiggle that guy off. And you can see it's not the cleanest, but there's still a little bit of modification that we're going to need to do. When we do go ahead and latch this guy in place, and it comes down, you see how it starts to grip on that rubber buffer? What we need to do is take off a decent chunk of this section here. So we're going to just kind of like cut in and over a small square. I'd say like halfway on this small little protrusion. So with a good amount of it cleaned out, not my cleanest work, but you could see it now slides past that no problem, and it's not going to start to rip apart the buffer, and it still looks clean on either side. You almost can't even tell that I did anything. Next we have to take the upper. We're going to pull this guy into play. We need this small little adapter for the rail, and we're going to flip it over, drop this little piece or this tab directly on the furthest back rail segment, and then I'm going to take this guy, and these two nubs are going to slide into the ports where your sling mount would go. You might just have to wiggle it on there a little tight. It's a snug fit. Okay, and there are a setting of screws that are already pre-Loctited, which is really nice to see. And we're just going to go ahead and drive those down. That is one. And go easy on them. They're small screws. You don't want to strip anything. You can see that like Loctite starting to peel away, which is good to see. We get a little spooky in the next couple seconds, and you'll see why. So what we're going to want to do now is drop everything back in place. So we'll take the pin, and we'll drop that up in the front. And make sure the flat edge is facing towards the rear. We can go ahead and close our upper and lower receiver. Now you notice, obviously we can't use that pin anymore to hold this guy in place. So what we need to do is add our new adapter. Pinching the upper and lower receiver closed now, all we're going to do is mark a spot through this hole in the rear so we can draw it onto the receiver. Something like a pen should work just fine, and you're going to work that guy around in circles as much as you can, just so we can figure out where our midpoint's going to be. I don't know if you could see it right there. That's our circle, and we're just going to find the center of that, and we're going to mark it so we can drill. So we are marked and ready to go, and the most important thing that we can do now is remove this buffer again, just so that when we're drilling, we don't accidentally drill into it, because this is aluminum, and we don't want to mess up our threads. The best thing that we can do is drive the bolt that came with it inside, and then we're just going to punch that pin back out. And we should be able to use this guy to remove the buffer. And just make sure you remove that screw again, because we're going to actually need to reinstall that in a completely different orientation. Now we should be able to flip this guy around. Okay, that through. And let's drill our pilot hole. This is that part where you're going to wish me luck. We're going to start with something extremely small, just because the glass reinforced plastic that the GHK G5 has will start to just kind of peel off a ton and melt really weird. So we're going to use the smallest drill bit that we can to start. Just double check that's where it needs to be. Bingo. And I think that's exactly where that hole was. We're not going to find out until we go bigger. So with that hole drilled, now we're going to want to take this small little insert and we're going to want to stick it on the inside here, just like that. And you can see it's a little on the tight end, and I don't want to go any crazier with the drill. So what I'm going to actually wind up doing is filing it just a little bit with a circular file. I'm literally just going to go around until it starts to fit. Take your time and be easy with it. Again, circular file. Now here's where things start to get scary. This insert now fits just fine. And all right, so now what we're going to do is drop this guy in. And now we'll just kind of take a look. This guy lines up perfectly. I'll be honest with you, I have no idea if there's any super glue left in here. I hope so. So I only really need a little bit. A little will go a long way. Maybe that's all dry. Let me see if I have something else. I found some. Try this guy. Add for size. And I do everything I can not to get it all over my hand. We really shouldn't need all that much. I do not want it getting on anything other than this part. Now let's go ahead and pop this guy open. Drop that into its home. And we're just going to hold it where it belongs for a second. Make sure it is, in fact, nice and level. I'll even see if we can open the stock here. Which we can. And that'll kind of hold it in place, which is nice too. And then we'll get that screw in place. I'm going to open this up first. There we go, we're going in now. We just got to make sure it's not like twisting out of the orientation we need it in. Maybe I'll even close the stock and we'll go like at it half turns. Just until obviously that glue dries. While we let the glue dry, we have to now attack this beast. And it looks like... Alright, so it's probably easiest if we take this guy apart first. So we're just going to go ahead and pull that screw out. And just be careful. It looks like, again, obviously it's under spring tension, but there's also a washer of some sort. Whoa, 3 of them. So we got a small little ring. It looks like a buffer. And then the screw. Spring. And now we got to pop the guide rod out. And it looks like we have a small pin that holds it in place. Now, first of all, that pin was in there tight. Second of all, it broke completely. The one that was on the inside of that G5. And I have absolutely no idea where it went. So, that kind of stinks. But now it should just shimmy on off. There's your old buffer. We're not going to need that anymore. Your guide rod with that little pinhole. And now, very, very carefully, we're going to go ahead and pop out our new buffer and guide rod. Just take the new buffer plate. We're going to install it in this direction so that the little rubber is facing the guide rod. And you're going to push it until obviously the pinhole lines up with the pinhole. And with those two all the way lined up, we're just going to take our new pin now, get it ready to drop in place. And this is where those pliers come in handy. If it functions the way that I want it to, we should just be able to kind of push this guy down. And take a look at that guy. Let's just completely reinstall it. That's the spring. Over this guy. The first buffer. The little thin washer. And then our screw. Now I'm just going to uninstall this guy, because obviously our super glue should be totally dry now. Let's pop that out. Pull this guy up. Let's drop our bolt carrier group back inside. Oh. This has to come off. So with this piece off, now we can reinstall our bolt carrier. That should drop in place. We should be able to close this guy all down and together. And now we'll just slide this guy back on. So I screwed these two in, and you can see the buffer's in, so is the recoil buffer. Everything's all set and ready to go. We're going to press this guy in quite a ways, because we have to get it past that buffer. Locks down in place, nice and snug. We'll get the bolt that'll lock everything in place, and we should be able to start screwing this guy in. So interesting. I don't know how to explain this to you, and it wasn't prevalent previously. Plus, I'm used to it basically has no smell. You're like, what the heck are you talking about? The lubrication that I use has like no smell. But these parts, when you are screwing them in, there's a very distinct scent that comes from them, and I don't know how to explain that to you. All right, and we'll just lock our stock in place, nice and snug. Just make sure everything works. So on save, hammer doesn't drop, trigger can't be pulled. On fire, there's a reset. And on auto, there should be no reset, and hammer drops. Let me just take it out, and we'll make sure, obviously, everything functions the way it should. So just for proof of function, you can see the Zenith Kit is installed. We'll go ahead and lock the bolt back and throw ourselves into semi. I have a fully loaded mag, all gassed up and ready to go. And let's make sure everything functions the way it should. The sound should also be a little different too, because there's some more buffering going on, and there's a little bit more cushion in the blowback housing. So here we go in 3, 2, 1. My can is catching the BBs. It's a long thread. It's probably just from install and uninstall. I've messed up the hop-up unit. Let me just put that in my pocket. Yeah, so it functions, locks back everything as it should. Just the can was catching some BBs. It works. If every science experiment ends, you have to conclude. Let's do such. So, first of all, I just want to say a huge thank you to RogueWorx for sending this part out. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the engineering and time that you guys have put in for making a replica that will inevitably explode on itself, no longer have that issue. So we've saved ourselves here. A lot of the pros are the fact that RogueWorx does a wonderful job on their parts. They also do a lot with the KCO too, and I've had that, and I've also had some of the parts from them, and everything that they always send out is quality control. It's beautiful, it's attractive, it's put together really well, and it's engineered very nicely. I handed that replica on because I just wasn't really a fan of the mags. But the G5 I was, and they really came in clutch. If, perchance, you choose to pick up a G5 from GHK, this is the part you are going to need. It is not a question, you need it. This is one of, if not the only, option for you in order to save your lower receiver. I've seen epoxy mods, but they don't look attractive. They can be a mess, and I don't think they're going to work as well as this thing. So, well done, RogueWorx. The install. The install is not as simple as taking a part that is aftermarket and replacing it with a part that's already inside of the replica. This is different. Me, maybe 10 years ago, before I learned what I learned and I was trusting of myself to do some of these modifications, probably would have stepped away from this entirely. Because I've seen some horror stories where people have drilled these holes and they were drilled a little too high, a little too low, off to the left, off to the right, and then they have to make that hole even larger to get the screw to fit the correct way or the insert to fit in the correct location. Then they have to use like an epoxy glue in order to get it the right place, which isn't the biggest of deals. You're also modifying the upper receiver. You're cutting into it, which won't necessarily kill the longevity of it if you decided that you messed up. But again, these are all modifications that once you start, you really can't go back. So it's not easy. Once you do it, it works really well. And they're not the hardest thing in the world, but it also changes some things. Inevitably, we're going to have to break this thing down. We're going to have to take it apart. We're going to have to lubricate it, clean it, because it's a gas blowback. That's just what you have to do. You no longer can take it down the old way. You can't just push this pin out and fold the receiver in half. We have to now unscrew this bolt. Well, are those parts going to hold up? I think so. And if they don't, if for some reason over time, a couple years pass by and you've done this 100 times now in between games and you've unscrewed it, screwed it in, unscrewed it, screwed it in, chances are things are going to start to wear in. RogueWorx knows that. Each one of these pieces is replaceable on their website, which is even easier because we can literally just go pick up another one if we need a new bolt or something like that, which is really cool. So I appreciate them offering that, not just the whole kit. You could pick up individual pieces as you need necessary. I think they'll last, though. I don't think you'll have a problem with that. I feel like that kind of wraps everything up. Plus, we have a new QD mount, which is really cool. Originally, we just had those small little sling posts with this, which this actually like replaces, and I prefer these, so that's cool. Hope you enjoyed the video. I tried to shorten it down as much as I can so that there wasn't so much filler time in there, because it's already a long install. And I hope you got everything out of it that you needed, and I made it a little easier for you to install if you do check this video out. For now, I had a blast. Thank you again, RogueWorx. I'm going to catch you guys in the next adventure. Peace.